stuff in, and so sometimes, although generally most of what we type in Microsoft Access, if it's standard SQL, Microsoft Access should be able to interpret it correctly. Microsoft Access should do it. But if you get too used to Access, if you start using Access's tricks, what Access allows you to use, you might end up with some SQL statements that are no longer executable in other SQL databases that follow the strict rules of SQL as they were invented way back in the 1990s or whatever. Probably earlier than that. But yeah, I was asking you guys to look at the structure of these tables for this homework due on Friday. We've got a wind data table, a bunch of readings taken from all over the continental United States, plus various islands. I think the winds blowing in the Marshall Islands are included in there. And then we've got the names of all these stations. That's probably how I know there are some island stations there, as I was looking at the data in the station table and noticed that some of these stations are in Ontario, Canada. Some of these stations are on islands off the coast of the United States. I'm sure there's going to be some Alaska stations. I can see that Banff is in there. That's definitely in Canada. And Argentina, is that Argentina misspelled? No, it looks like that's in Newfoundland, also in Canada. So we've got Ile Rouge, that's French, also in Canada, probably. I don't know how many readings we actually have from Ile Rouge, but I'm just saying there's a lot of stations in this data set, whether we're getting readings from them or not. A lot of these stations are actually out of service. And so there are some rows in the station data table we actually don't have data from. How could we figure that out? How could we figure out if we actually are getting some wind speeds from Clovis, New Mexico, given the knowledge that we have about databases and SQL at this point? Any ideas? I do know that for every wind reading that we have in the wind dat table, I have IDs and IMPNOs and W bands and dates and latitudes and longitudes and humidity, pressure, U's and V's. And in the station table, I have W bands and WMOs and other things, name, state, location, latitude, longitude. Do we have any common column names between those two tables? Because if we do, what would that allow us to do, Aidan?
One of the drawings is a natural drawing, or could you product? You can join the two tables together under the W band, right?
Yeah, the idea of joining comes to us here. So I've talked about comma joins, where we just have the names of the tables separated by comma. And then natural join is something that relies on, in standard SQL, relies on two tables having the a field names with the same value. And that should normally work because, yeah, we do have the three that I realized were common between these two tables is both WinDat and station tables have a W band field and a latitude and longitude field. I think that we could use, we can't just use latitude alone, probably necessarily. If we were going to use latitude and longitude, we would have to use both of those so that we would have, the north coordinate and the east-west, north-south coordinate plus the east-west coordinate. It's extremely unlikely that there are two wind measuring stations on exactly the same north-south coordinate or whatever, or east-west. But still, I do prefer using W band because it's a single field. It's less typing for me. So we could, I guess what we could do is come up with a query that maybe listed all of the data in the WinDat table, and maybe not all of the data. Maybe there's stuff that we don't care about. What would I not care about? Maybe I don't necessarily need to see relative humidity and pressure. U and V is probably what I'm really going to care about. And I don't know, I do like to see dates, and I assume there's dates m times in here. But yeah, I've got latitudes and longitudes. I've got W bands, that's the ID of the station that got the reading. You know what I would really like though, instead of a W band, Tyler? What have I been talking about in my join examples all this time when I was joining random university tables that nobody cares about together? What was I trying to get in my result table that would make intuitive sense to the reader? I was often trying to replace course IDs with course names, right? Course titles. Professor IDs with professor names. Student IDs with student names. Do we see a case of replacement that we could do here? I don't know what W-band 13807 is. Do you? You said you did the entire homework already, Tyler. You don't know what W-band 13807 is?
I would never know.
Do you know what Bemidji's W-band is?
At one point I did.
Yeah. That was the one W-band that I asked you to look up. You don't need to memorize it. I think it's like maybe 14927 or something like that. I'm not sure. Do you know what data type it is? Because this looks like an integer to me. How can I find the data type in Access? If I've got Access open and I've got the data here, and I'm wondering, is this an integer, or is this a float, or is this a long, or what is this?
You should be able to click on the title header and it'll tell you, if I'm remembering correctly.
Really? I'm going to do that. What I was going to suggest is look at the design of the table, and there's a little shortcut there, and also the view button there is another different corners of the screen I can click on for that shortcut. But you're telling me I can click on W-band right here?
I think so.
That just selects the entire column. You're telling me I need to click on the arrow.
Does the arrow tell you it?
No, it doesn't.
It does say sort A to Z.
Yeah, maybe you're thinking of a different use case.
Probably thinking of something else.
Okay, I'm going to go to this tiny little icon in the lower right-hand corner, which is exactly the same as clicking on this big icon in the upper left-hand corner. And that's just going to tell me the fields and their data types for all of these columns in this table. And I can see that W-band it's not even a number, it's short text. That means if I'm referring to W-band IDs, I'm going to need to put those values in quotes. I'm going to need to remember that. So again, I'm not quite sure of my memory, and Tyler refuses to confirm what the value of the Bemidji wind station is. And so I'm just going to open up a test query here, and what kind of query do I need to type in order to get Bemidji's W-band ID? What do you guys suppose? What do you guys suggest? I mean, select star from station. Will that give it to me?
You need to have.
I mean, it will, but it will be lost in 958 other rows of data. I mean, let me just click on this to. Yeah, that just shows me the entire table. I still need to search through this whole thing for the one row that has, I don't know, like maybe the string Bemidji in the name field or something. How can I modify that SQL query to only return Bemidji information? Mr. Kapiski!
You gotta do where W-band equals
the number in quotations.
You're telling me I need to know the numeric ID of Bemidji in order to figure out
Oh,
the numeric ID of Bemidji?
so you're asking like how to,
Yeah. Look,
I guess you could do
yeah,
where,
I probably didn't make that clear, so.
you could do where name equals Bemidji?
Yeah, let's use some information here. Probably it's Bemidji in all caps. Probably this is a text field. I can verify that. Click on design. What's name? Oh, this is the design of the query, not the table. Never mind. Go to the station table and click on design, and I can find out that name is text, so I need quotes for that. All right, so I like seeing data. I'll go back to that. I'll go to the query. Select star from station, and you're saying where? Where name is equal to Bemidji. I actually tested this out earlier in my office, and what really disappointed me is I didn't type Bemidji in all caps, and it still gave me an answer. I don't know how this data is stored, but I'll just show you that. Where did my exclamation point go, Sam? How do I get back to my exclamation point? How do I run this query?
Go back to query design.
Ah, really? I have to, that feels very clunky, but you're right. Access hides my run command in the query design ribbon. Hey, it is 14958 according to what I can see on my